So let's do some housekeeping before we proceed, because now we've got a lot of different type of objects. So let's do a little organization. So right click in Assets, choose Create, and choose Folder. This will be for scripts, so just call it Scripts. And then you can just drag and drop the individual scripts into it. This doesn't actually change any of the coding. This is purely for organizational reasons. And let's do another one. This one we can do for prefabs. You could further separate them by maybe doing prefabs for monsters, prefabs for effects. It's really your choice. But at least what we're doing now is we're separating the images from the actual objects. And you don't have to change any coding. Now, right along what I've said is that when we play this blank space won't be here. That's true, but there's a change that we have to make for that to happen. So two things. First, we're going to take the camera, and by taking one of the well, not the corners, but one of the control points, we're just going to zoom in like this. The actual attribute you're changing is the camera size here. So we're going to zoom in. Then the second thing we're going to do is we're going to take that background. We're going to go down to the resource itself. So we're not going to change the object. We're going to change the resource. We're going to come over here to pixels per inch, and we're going to reduce this number. So reducing the number actually makes the image bigger because it's a ratio. Uncheck this if it's checked. Click on Apply. Do a quick check, and that did do it. Because here's the camera, you can see that there's no longer any blank space. If we click play, you see how everything looks bigger now. Effectively you zoomed in. So the only thing we have to tweak now are these, the HUD. So what we'll do is we will grab this one, slide it over, grab the enemy text, slide that over, double check with the camera, you can see it's not off the side. So actually let's move it just a tiny bit more. Same for this one, slide it over, slide that over, check the camera, nothing's cut off. And there we go. So it's that easy to adjust the view. Now you probably noticed that this is higher up on the screen. I jumped ahead and made a quick change. Nothing major, but I will review what I did so we can have this be the same on my side and yours. I just went into battle flow, and all I did is where objects are instantiated, I simply move them higher on the Y coordinate. So here, when the enemy is instantiated, I simply move the Y coordinate. I increase this number a little bit more. Same thing for where the spells are instantiated. I increase that a little bit more, increase that a little bit more. Don't have to change any of the other coding. Everything still works as the overall process, the overall flow still works. I just changed where it appears on the screen. One of the reasons why it doesn't matter where it appears on the screen is we're not using any collision detection. So since we're not using any collision detection, and that really all the activities being performed by the changing of variables behind the scenes, you can really put the enemies and spells wherever you want. So now that we've done that, let's get to the main reason for this particular video. we're gonna finally add some player animation. So effectively there is a player because they have hit points, they can attack, they can receive damage, but you don't have any visual representation for them. So what I'm doing is I'm going to the folder where I have the frames stored. We're just going to drag and drop those right into our project. So there they are. We're going to take the idle, just drag it right here to create a new object. So it creates an object with that as the sprite. I'm going to position it on the screen. And for the time being, this is probably not going to be a prefab because there's really no need for it, because the hero is present in all the battles, so unless we add multiple players, it's always going to be the same one and therefore does not need to be instantiated. And what we're going to do, first let's rename this, call them hero. We're going to add a script. So as typical, you click on them, you select them, choose add component, choose new script, and we'll call this hero control. And before we open up, we'll just drag that into our scripts folder. And we'll double click on hero control. And what we're going to do with this is we're going to create a variable for the idle and attack states just like we did with the enemy. So you're really starting to see how we're really not covering new ground. We've already covered these principles, just applying it to a different object. So what we're going to do is we're going to create two variables. One for the idle and one for the attack. We save that, go back to the hero object, and you can see those variables have been added. So idle goes to idle, attack goes to attack. And now what we have to do is we have to change when idle is being displayed and when hero's attack is being displayed. So once again we'll do it in that neither stage. That's why it was so important that we added it when we did, because a lot of the processing gets is dependent on that state. And we're going to do get component. And in this case, we can actually do an else statement, because the only time you want it to be like that is if you're attacking. So I believe this is the first time we've used an else statement in conjunction to the if. actually, I said neither, but it's not neither. It's actually effects delay. Let's just move her on the screen a bit. So one last detail, we're going to make the hero flash when she gets attacked just like we make the enemy flash. So I already jumped ahead and did it. Since it's a very similar process, we'll just quickly review it. So we're going to have the color change happen on the hero control because that's attached to the hero object, and like I said, any kind of maintenance being done to the object, whenever possible, try to do it with the script attached to that object. You can't always, but you can. So this is what we already had. So what got added was this. So we added another if statement that says, okay, if it's the enemy's turn, change the color to red. You've seen this a few times already. And then start a coroutine. This time we called it hero flash, and that jumps you down to here. We've already seen IEnumerator. So there it is, hero flash. Same verbiage as always, yield, return, new, wait for seconds, and how long it's going to wait, and then change the color back. So usually I go through all the typing, but since we've already seen this, I figured that just the highlights would do. So all we added was that and that. So changing the color, starting a coroutine, and then changing the color back. And so now your character flashes when they get attacked.